It is very difficult to imagine life without colors. Each color has its own characteristics. Some people even see colors in joy, grief, music and words. Colors aren't just light scheme, they are also his thoughts. There is no colorless plant in nature. Even the trunks and leaves of trees that don't produce fruit are colorful, but some particular plants are called dye plants. The art of dyeing is comparable with the development of human history and the evolution of human consciousness. Sense of color is a person's first interpretation of beauty and aesthetics. Although it was used in all areas of national applied arts, later, of all industries in Azerbaijan including food, color dyeing was mainly associated with carpet making. From very ancient times until the beginning of the 20th century, the color wool yarn used for weaving carpets in different parts of Azerbaijan was obtained from natural plants. In Azerbaijan, dyeing reached a professional level, gradually expanding its scope in practical terms. In passing from father to son as a family occupation, it has remained alive and developed. In fact, in the Middle Ages, along with other neighborhoods in which specialist craftsmen lived, there were separate neighborhoods for dyers too, in developed cities like Gence, Nakhchivan, Beylagan, Berde, Gebele, Quba, Kazakh, Borsalı, Iravan, Derbent, Tabriz, Erdebil, Urmiye and Khoy. Even though this field of art fell out of fashion due to scientific, economic and social progression, the names of those neighborhoods remain on the pages of history. Dyeing and weaving developed at the same time. These emerged as a result of excavations carried out in Kültepe village in Nakhchivan. Remains of hand spindles made of bone and used to spin yarn were discovered. A mortar made of stone was found. Color pigments and color spots could be seen inside the mortar. Studies have shown that this mortar was used to crush dye root, from which substances were prepared for dyeing wool yarn. It is clear from statistical data that, compared with the number of carpet weavers, there were fewer dyers in Azerbaijan. This is directly linked to the dyers' great efforts, patience and year-round work. As carpet weaving was widespread in Azerbaijan and the demand for dye substances gradually increased, dyers would go around other villages and towns for the diversity of plants and to increase dye trade. They could dye wool yarn for the carpet weavers within several months. According to Al-Muqaddasi, in the 9th and 10th century, Barda carpets and their natural, sustained bright colors astonished people. Hence our people made good use of natural dyes. Even Nizami Ganjavi showed in his Iskandername that, from the plates of night in the cottage, I have been weaving yarn of several colors. I, as Isa, from the azure hilt, I am pulling out colorful yarn. Color solution firstly depends on natural resources, the flora of the weaving location to be exact. Analysis shows that during weak periods of trade relations and regional cooperation in Azerbaijan, carpets were woven from yarn that was dyed at the expense of the location's own plants. Prospects for the development of dyeing in Azerbaijan never left the interests of Tsarist Russia once it became a popular art form. In the mid-19th century, natural dyes produced in Azerbaijan were exported abroad alongside meeting domestic demand. Russian industrialists were engaged in the cultivation of indigo, madder, Oregon grape, and smoke tree in the vast fields of Ganjar, Shirvan, Lankaran, Shaki, and other provinces. That period was known as the Madder Revolution era in Azerbaijan, as well as the South Caucasus. There used to be a jar maker neighborhood in Red Town in Guba. People from villages of neighboring regions, Shabran, Gusar, Khachmaz, and Guba itself, would go and dye yarn there. They would go to Rubia tinctorum plantations in Pirebedil or Khudart, or the mountainous villages of Gusar. The roots of madder cultivated in those plantations were exchanged for gold coins at auction in London and other cities of Europe. Today, the roots of madder planted back then remain in some villages. To guarantee beauty, quality, and of course longevity of any carpet, the yarn must be dyed correctly and carefully. Rich forests, fruit trees, alpine and subalpine prairies, and mineral springs play a major role in the development of dyeing. In this regard, Azerbaijan is rich in resources. The scale of economic and trade relations also influenced the exchange of dye plants and ready-made dye substances. As the demand for dye plants increased, foreign countries showed interest in them. For example, when Zubov came to Azerbaijan, he bought hundreds of tons of dye plants in Devechi, Khachmaz, and Khudart and gave them to factories in Moscow. Along with madder, indigo was also planted and tilled in Ganjar and Shamakhe. Mostly blue and light blue colors were prepared from indigo. It was planted in Lankaran also. Indeed, it was planted widely in Lankaran. According to research on the National Botanical Science of Dye Plant Resources, up to 500 species of medical plants, close to 850 species with either oil, up to 600 species was alkaloids, more than 500 species was nectar, nearly 450 species that possess tannic acid, up to 1,500 species qualified for dyeing, and close to 300 species rich in vitamins, juice, rubber, potassic soda, and oil along with decorative plants are declared part of Azerbaijan's flora. Dye roots cultivated here were exported to India in exchange for indigo dye. Indigo dye was also called pot paint. Turmeric and henna were bought from Iran. Studies show that the people of Azerbaijan use 60 to 100 natural dye plants. Every dyer used plants from the region they lived in. Dyers considered some dried and some fresh variation of plants more suitable for dyes. Wormwood, datisker, perforate St. John's wort, and oregano were considered wholly useful for dyes. It was possible to gather flowers, dry them, and dye yarn throughout the year. Trees were chopped and their wood dried. Sometimes it was grinded and applied in powder form. As a result of many years' experience, dyers were able to determine the right time and place for collecting each dye plant. Flower and grass dye plants were collected from alpine and subalpine meadows, whereas other plants were collected from courtyard areas gardens, orchards, and forests. As the drying of collected fruits, plants of forests and herbs came to an end late autumn, this time of year was considered most appropriate for dyeing. For instance, if you dyed white yarn obtained from sheep raised in Nakhchivan with color acquired in Gubar, you could feel the difference. This is because the components contained in the dye formed different color shades. Surely there is a difference in the color shades of different regions. It depends on environmental factors. The colors and shades of wool yarn changes according to the components of the grass sheep graze on. At the same time, it depended on the water, soap water or hard water. Depending on the assembly period and dry characteristics of the plants, the color and shade of the wool yarn changes. In Ganja Basar, Karabakh, Shirvan and Gubar, 3 days before dyeing, the yarn was separately hardened in alum solutions or in alum solutions mixed with plum, apricot or cranberry substances. Dyers preferred large copper pots for dyeing yarns. They would be submerged in dye solution from a few minutes to a few hours or even a few days. This time frame depended on the exact color required, the professionalism of the dyers, and choice of wool. They would say, "My carpet is shining" when looking at carpets woven in the mountains. Yarn brightness depended on the fat contained with it. I learned this in the laboratory. I observed unwashed, fatty yarn and washed yarn. I saw the difference between them. I noticed the yarn that contained fat was glossier when dyed. Former dyers would put yarn skein on the eye of springs, place a rock on it, and leave it there for 3-4 days. Why? Since the dye contained various mineral salts, casein and anion, the wool attracts all the casein and anion in the water to itself and become even stronger in the dyeing process. For instance, there are a lot of salts, casein and anions in cattle urine. When a skein is left in cattle urine, it absorbs all of those things. It plays the role of an alkaline in dyeing yarn. This made the yarn even shinier and resistant to fading. This process continued until the end of the 19th century. Since the discovery of aniline dyes and alizarin dyes by German scientists Grebe and Liberman and Russian scientist Zinn, the use of dye plants gradually reduced in the dyeing industry.
Boyaqçılıq sənayesində get-gedə boyaq biçkilərindən istifadə olma azalır.
World dyeing entered a repression after this discovery, although it was easy and affordable to acquire as a result of the massive use of chemicals which are harmful to human health. Dyeing traditions began to weaken. The gradually narrowing scale of this field of art led to the reduction of dyes and weakening of the process using dye plants. National carpet weaving was the most affected field of art due to the replacement of natural dyes with chemical dyes. Carpets woven from yarn that has been colored with artificial dye fade due to sunlight, physical and chemical elements, and being washed up with soap. The carpet colors start to mix even before it gets old. Yarn colored with natural dye is durable, whereas yarn colored with artificial dye wears out easily. Artificial dyes consist of only one chemical structure, whereas natural dyes consist of 10 to 15 different kinds of pigments. These are flavonoids, catechins, tannic acid, and glycosides. They react with the salts of heavy metals as in alkaline substances, therefore creating solid colors. These colors last for centuries. They are resilient against sunlight and the physical and chemical effects of the atmosphere. This allows the carpets to be sold at a higher price. If a child sleeps on artificial dye, their body may adopt a rash and even experience a level of poisoning. But this does not happen with carpets woven in natural dyes. Primarily, in terms of raw material, carpets are the products of the people's economy. Historically, suitable breeds of sheep such as Balbas, Bozakh, Merinos, Jero, Herik, Karabakh sheep and Shirvan sheep were raised here. Their wool and goat's wool was used to prepare yarn to make both fluffy and flat weave carpets. Yarn obtained from the soft and shiny wool of healthy sheep was considered more suitable for carpets. Such wool could absorb dye easily. Ethnographic studies have shown that, compared with sheep that had brown, yellow, light brown and chestnut brown wool that are bred in Azerbaijan, sheep with black and dark chestnut brown wool are outnumbered. Yarn prepared from pale colored wool was used with yellow and red dyes, whereas dark colored wool was used with black, chestnut brown and navy blue dyes. Wise dyers would call summer the preparation stage for dyeing season. Also, to ensure the yarn accepted the dye, it was boiled in solutions made from summer fruits, leaves and timber of mulberry, olive, rose hips, medlar, quince, raspberries, crab apples, pear and plum trees. This completed the first dyeing phase in colors of yellow, cream and light green before the next dyeing phase. I'm an amateur dyer as well as a carpet maker. We acquired several colors in Zeva village in the current Shibran region. The black elder plant gives such color. In other words, this is the color acquired from its fruit. Let's see what color is going to form when we dye the yarn with this. We will witness which color will appear. One of the dye plants used in dyeing is this tree, wild quince tree. We have this in all forests of Azerbaijan. By the way, we came across a wild plant called buckthorn in Zeva. We're going to boil it as well in the pot. According to the people of the village, a nice color is acquired from this, but we will find out which color after we boil it. Historically, this alam was used to harden colors.
bu gəndalaş bitkisi və bu da hazır gəndalaşdan alınan təbii boya.
This is the black elder plant, and this is the yarn dyed with the color acquired from it. It's a natural dye. We call this color light purple. Light purple was used in all carpet groups of Azerbaijan. If we boil this light purple color with, for instance, walnut or oak tree or blackberry roots, we can obtain a variety of color tones. Right now we have achieved the light purple color we need.
Qaynarlarsa onda müxtəlif tonlara düşəcək bir rəngdir. İndi hal-hazırda bizə lazım olan və gözlədiyimiz bu açıq mor rəngi biz aldıq. Bu ağac yabanı heyvadır. Həmin bu gördüyünüz ağacın budaqlarından, yarpaqlarından biz topladıq.
This is the wild quince tree. We collected branches and leaves from this tree, you see. In fact, there was one fruit on it. We boiled them together with white yarn, and from that we achieved a dark cream color. We asked villagers that according to what we have heard, when brewing tea from quince tree branches, a red color would form. They answered that the color obtained from wild quince is like that.
Qırmızı rəng çıxardı. Dedilər, yabanı heyva bitkilərindən çıxan rənglər ancaq belə olur. Bundasan da rəngi.
The color obtained from buckthorn is the color of honey. It differs from the color obtained from quince. We use the leaves, bark and branches of this bush. It's one of the most beautiful colors. As difficult as it is, we were able to acquire color from this plant. This is a wild blackberry. There are two species. These species blossom more quickly.
We
collected the leaves of forest blackberries and used its roots and branches, and we achieved this color. This color is also very beautiful and is used a lot for weaving carpets.
Davamlı xalçalar üzərində istifadə olunur.
We came across a lot of rosehips bushes in Zeva forest. A creamy color was obtained from rosehips ground in Oghuz. This is one of the most frequently used colors in all carpet groups of Azerbaijan, including Quba carpets.
En çok istifadə olunan renklərdən biridir. Mənim əlimdə gördüyünüz
The two cream-colored skeins you see were prepared from fig tree leaves and barks from its trunk.
Və onun kötü hissəsinin qabıqlarından alınmışdır.
Demək, günəş şüası dəydiksə, rənglər daha da gözəlləşir.
As the sunlight strikes them, the colors became more beautiful. The carpets were spread on rocks after they were woven. The sun would shine on them, and even centuries later, the colors never faded. In addition, merchants and dyers would spread the woven carpets out at markets. When people passed by, they would get a little dirty, but after washing those carpets, would become even brighter.
Camaat oradan keçəndərsə, o biraz çiçəklənirdi. Yuyulandan sonra xalçalar daha da parlaq olurdu.
Vaxtilə xalça kolleksionerləri və məşhur xalçaçılar xalça tacirləri də, onlar da xalçada ən əsas götürüblər rəngi.
In the past, carpet collectors, famous carpet weavers and carpet merchants would mainly look at the colors on the carpet. Color is a key factor. The stronger color is, the more durable it is. Dyers have a rule of not sharing their dye secrets with each other. If we take a look at the carpets woven in all carpets groups of Azerbaijan, we notice that they're all colorful in different ways. For example, the colors used on Nakhchivan carpets are different from than those used on Shirvan carpets. This difference can also be noticed on Iravan carpets. But colors of Nakhchivan carpets are similar to those from Karabakh group carpets.
Naxçıvan xalçalarının Qarabağ qrupuna daha da uyğun olması rənglərinin.
The color red is a symbol of beauty, abundance, joy, celebration and happiness, and is one of the main colors that characterizes Azerbaijan carpets. Various shades of red were applied to this carpet: light red, scarlet, pinkish. They used to call it dye back then. It used to have roots. They would pull it out from the ground and thoroughly squash it. Then they would mix it with saffron and boil it. Now they grind the dye, but when I was a kid, my grandmother would place it on a big stone and beat it with a small rock. They would soak the yarn in pans with alum and salt. There are clusters of barberry in this forest. They would incorporate that as well. Barberry and salt hardened the yarn. The yarn never spoiled.
Sonra bu meşədə zirniç var, bax belə salxım-salxım. O zirniç, o zəy, duz, o ipi möhkəmlədir, o ip heç vaxt xarab olmur.
Təbiətdə qırmızı iranci almaq üçün həşəratdan da istifadə olunur. Ona deyirlər kaşmir.
Insects were also used to acquire a red color. It's called cochineal. Mexican cochineal can be found in the leaves of cacti. Cochineal is not only used for dyeing woolen fabric, but also in architectural monuments, the food industry, various shampoos and cosmetics. Currently, Coca-Cola contains cochineal among its ingredients.
Mənim özümdə apardığım tədqiqat nəticəsində Naxçıvanda kaşilini aşkar etdim.
In addition, as a result of my research, cochineal has been discovered in Nakhchivan. After I collected natural dye plants, I lay down on the grass to rest. At the same time, a lot of tick-like insects crawled over me. Without intending to, I crushed one of them. It turned blood red. I suddenly recognized that this was cochineal, in other words, red worm. I collected a massive amount of them. For example, this is a Mexican cochineal. Ararat cochineal also looks like this. Ararat cochineal was discovered by a German zoologist in the Ararat Valley in 1820. They named it Ararat cochineal. A 15-minute movie was filmed about it.
Ermənilər isə bundan istifadə edərək bu kaşini özlərinə çıxmışlar.
It's used to dye silk, handkerchiefs, rope, lemonade, and cakes. I brought the cochineal I found to the laboratory. I obtained a large amount of red color from it. After, we developed a new technology and sent it to Moscow to get a patient. 6 months later, Moscow confirmed it.
6 aydan sonra Moskva bunu təsdiq elədi. Biz ispat elədik ki, ay erməni, bu sənin deyil. Bu hər yerdə var.
In the springtime, women would boil the red worms in copper cauldrons and dye yarn and thread in the same water. Since the practical application of cochineal is complex and a very time-consuming process, to get the color red, dyers would mainly use plant resources: Sheikh Duran, Baldırgan, Evelik, Devegulağı, Çetir yarpaq, elm bark, and the wood of smoke tree. Experience show that the best quality color resource is the dye root used wholly or in powdered form.
Şəkidə sadağan bitkisi var. Sadağanla çalağı boyanır. Biz isə sadağandan narıncı rəng, sarı rəng aldıq.
There's a smoke tree in Shaki. Shoals are colored using smoke tree. We, on the other hand, acquired orange and red from the smoke tree. Color obtained from smoke tree isn't that durable on wool. We mixed it with Datistica and achieved a very strong yellow color. Dyers would use various tools to achieve color shades. They used sour buttermilk, sour yogurt, and plum lavash to make color stronger. They didn't know that, for instance, in Nakhchivan, they would achieve the color yellow from euphobia, sutian, and perforated St. John's wort. In Gubar, the color yellow was acquired from apple peels and leaves.
Alırlar almanın qabığından, almanın yarpağından.
Dyers would use the leaves, flowers, roots and fruits of plants like mulberry, apple, quince, saffron, birch, plantain, savourin, clover, hemlock, rue, onions, sea lavender and orchard to achieve the yellow dye substance. Relative to the region's natural resources, dyers in Gubar would acquire yellow mainly from the bark of apple trees and hemlock. The apple would be kept in water for 2 days to soften its peel, then the peelings were boiled together with hardened skein to acquire a dark yellow color. However, when crabapple peel was boiled together with dye roots, an orange-red brick color developed. The color of the dye wouldn't go away. It still remained the same color even when washed several times. In accordance with the floral resources of Absheron, Baku dyers use mulberry and fig leaves to source the color yellow. If the yarn dyed in mulberry leaves didn't possess the quality required, it was then soaked in solutions made of onion peelings or smoke tree plant. In the Shirvan region, mainly Datistica was applied for the color yellow. It was possible to dye yellow-colored yarn, especially light yellow shaded yarn, with other colors later on. Usually, yarn would be colored yellow with mulberry leaves, then it would be dyed green. For instance, since the color green doesn't have its own natural source, dyers in Gubar would boil yellow-colored yarns with blueberries and berries of autumn elderberry to acquire that color. At one time, both pileweave and flatweave carpets, household items, were woven a lot. These carpets are hung in the most beautiful international museums because of their color and patterns. So far, there isn't a museum that lacks an Azerbaijani carpet. Even if nature itself is a source of greenery, it's interesting that in the practice of dyeing, no single plant is the source of green. In laboratory experiments conducted by Azerbaijani scientists, they achieve green dyed wool yarn by preparing solutions from the fruits, leaves and wood of plants like buckthorn, wormwood, mint, nettle, apricot, birch, pear, grapes, potatoes, carrots, chard, mulberry and others. Before laboratories, technology for acquiring green was widespread in Azerbaijan. Because a symbol of abundance, freshness, beauty and naturalness, green is the most used color by all carpet groups of Azerbaijan.
Azərbaycanda bitən həmişə yaşıl murdarçadan demək indiqonun verdiyi rəng və çalaları almaq olar.
It is possible to obtain colors and shades of indigo from the evergreen buckthorn grown in Azerbaijan. A substitute for henna used to be obtained from the husks of this plant. It was used to dye hair and wool. This plant can be used to obtain the color blue. If plantations of buckthorn were established, we would be able to create complete carpets with natural dyes in Azerbaijan.
Demək, Azərbaycan xalçalarını təbii boyaqlar təmin edə bilərik.
Colors with multiple shades of navy blue were obtained mostly from the pitch of dye prepared from the leaves of the indigo dye plant brought from India. Europeans have always believed that this dye was a chemical and named it Indian stone. As of the 16th century, It was used to dye silk, cotton, and wool yarns and fabrics.
Qarabağın arar rayonlarında
All of the plants in Karabakh were used as colors until the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Even today, there are carpets with 8, 9, and 15 colors in them. The most beautiful 7 major colors chosen among these remain.
Onların içindən seçilib ən gözəlləri, ana rənglər 7 rəng qalıb.
The creation of the color black, specified as the color of the middle field, is a complex process. We used to obtain black from the bark of willow trees and nutshells. A good black color was obtained. There was a dye at the market called Bakhshi. He was a family friend of my father. He dyed yarns in all colors. He would say, "Aunt Telly, take them, weave and give them to your daughters and sons as keepsakes." There was a place called Black Soil in our area. My mother would make skeins and bury them there. The yarn would stay there for 2 days. They would be dark black when taken out. This color typically was obtained from plants like buckthorn, green nut shells and leaves, pomegranate skin, rose hip, and black soil. In almost every part of Azerbaijan, black is extracted from the same plants using different methods and with different boiling times. To obtain the light and dark shades of black, Gubar dyes use nut tree. The skein turned light black after boiling for 4 or 5 hours together with the skins or shells. To get the darker color, vitriol was added to the solution and the yarn was held for a day. In this case, unripe green nutshells could be added to the pot. Hajiman and Baskal villages, dye yarns would be rubbed against the ashes of dried cow dung after being boiled with nutshells. Pomegranate was considered the source of the highest quality black dye since pomegranate agriculture was prevalent here. Shirvan dyers boiled sour pomegranate skins together with the yarn. In Karabakh, pale colored wool was dyed black using the watermint plant. Here, sometimes skeins dyed red using dye root were hardened using black vitriol combined with smoke tree leaves for a black color. To make the color more durable after being dyed, pomegranate skin was boiled with alum in a copper pot and then a piece of rusty iron was added to it. There's a plant called chilik burnum. People would put it together with yarn to boil. Then the yarn was wrapped in black soil and buried. When taken out after a day, the yarn was already black. It shines. The colors of these yarns wouldn't ever fade.
Ondan sonra gene baxırsan oraya. Orada gecə durur, sabah atır. Sabah çıxardıysan raqqavaqdan düşman başına şüyə qaradı, par parlayır.
The mother-in-law of my late mother-in-law used to do this. My mother-in-law taught this to us. We also used this method.
Belə şeyləri məşğul olub, onunla da qaynənəm bizi də öyrətdi. Biz də məşğul olduq onlarla.
Biz yeni boyama teknolojisi yarattıq.
We created a new dye technology. We substituted the cations and anions in the content of springs with the salt of heavy metals. In the past, dyes obtained 1 color from a plant, but we obtained 10, 20 colors from a plant. Using this method, it is possible to obtain up to 100 colors and shades. This can push with the development of portrait carpets in Azerbaijan. The sources of auburn were fewer in number. Dyers were able to obtain auburn by matching carpet yarns with different dye solutions. Oak was obtained from oak tree bark. We would boil it and soak the yarn in it. Then we would wrap the yarn in fire ashes. Then we put it back in the water. Then, a beautiful oak brown was obtained. We used to weave carpets using colored yarns.
Biz xalçaların çoxunu bax elə şeylərlə toxumuşuq.
In Guba, the bark of the blackthorn tree was boiled with clean roots of madder, and in Karabakh with dye roots and leaves and branches of young quince trees. In Nakhchivan, dye is obtained or burned from nut and oak trees usually. In general, the yarns were boiled in a solution prepared from the damp bark of young nut trees to obtain a pure auburn color. However, in this case, ashes were spread over the skein beforehand. After the solution in the dye pot cooled down completely, the yarn was taken out to be dried. One of the interesting points of this process is the lack of hardening of the yarn beforehand, untraditionally. In Shirvan, half-ripened green nut shells, leaves and shoots of nut trees were boiled and yarn was added with alum in it. Absheron dye is obtained auburn using fig leaves by boiling yellow dye yarns in dye rot solution. In Ganja Basar, yarn dyed in a hardened red dye substance was held in a pitcher of dye.
Gedirdilər meşədən, o qoca ağaçlar olur ha, onların qabığını gətirirdilər.
Bark of old oak trees would be brought back from the woods. My mother would boil it with the yarn skein. A very beautiful brown colored yarn would result.
Qaynadırdı, qəşəng parladı rəng ip çıxırdı.
Compared to pile weave carpets, the use of white, which symbolizes purity, is weaker on flat weave carpets. Generally speaking, white smoke-colored yarn was used for flat weave carpets like the kilim, sumar, jejim, and vernet, which were intended as floor rugs. In this case, yarn made from natural sheep's wool weren't dyed, only at a particular stage of the process were they used along with other colored yarn.
Amerika mütəxəssisləri belə bir cədvəl hazırlayıblar. Birinci xalçanın rəngi.
American specialists have prepared a table. With this table, they are able to evaluate the color, age, pattern, origin, importance, size, materials used, rarity, condition, and weaving style of the carpets. If all these indexes are 10 points, it means it is the most unique carpet in the world. The Sheikh Safi carpet is graded 10 points because of its age. It was given 8.5 points for its patterns. To determine the price of every carpet in the Carpet Museum of Azerbaijan or other museums, houses, or even Azar Ilmeh, we must refer to the index table. The main thing has always been and will always be the carpet's color.
Bizdə olsun, hər bir xalçanın qiymətini təyin etmək üçün mütləq o indekslərə biz müraciət etməliyik. Sadəcə olaraq xalçanın bugünkü gündə və yaxud da keçmişdə də və gələcəkdə də əsas rəngidir.
All experts determine a carpet's value by its colors. We have obtained the wool of sheep bred in 7 districts of Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic. We got 1.5 tons of wool from there. We brought the wool to Baku, had it washed, combed, and stranded by hand. We wove naturally colored carpets from these yarns. In the assessment of this carpet, it's given 10 points in accordance with the color index. But because it is new, its historical index is given 2 points. Comparatively, we found 7 different colors of wool in Nakhchivan. Perhaps there are 15 kinds of wool in Shirvan. If this carpet remains for another 500 years, its colors will stay the same. There are no chemical substances in this carpet.
Bu xalça 500 il qalsa, yenə də rəng üstündədir. Üstündə heç bir kimyavi maddəsi yoxdur.
Each carpet is a reflection of the nature, people, lifestyle, and rituals of the region it was woven in.
Gördüyünüz bu bitki boyaq otudur. Azərbaycan xalçalarından.
The plant you see here is the madder plant. Red in Azerbaijani carpets is created from madder. Now it's autumn and we are in the Khan village of Ismail region. As you can see, the fruits of this madder plant have already grown in people's yards. The roots need to be collected and boiled in pots. Then we will see the red color it forms.
Və ondan sonra da biz ondan alınan rəngin qırmızının nə olduğunu biz görəcəyik. Azərbaycanda palıd ağaçlarının
There are different types of oak tree in Azerbaijan. We will collect some of their bark and cones and boil them. We will then dye the yarns with it and witness the color achieved.
ipi boyuyub və buradan alınan rəngin şahidi olacağıq.
But first, we add alum to the boiled water. To acquire navy blue, we mix indigo powder in this container. We will watch the process together.
Bir yerdə bu prosesi izləyəcəyik. Bu da palıd ağacından alınan qara rəng.
This is the black color acquired from the oak tree. Black is a very commonly used color in carpet weaving.
Qara rəng işlənməsi.
We got the red color we needed from the madder plant root.
Qırmızı rəng boyaq otu kökündən alındı. Tünd qara sürməyi, hansı ki bu sürməyi
Dark black, navy blue. This navy color was commonly used in Guba, Shirvan, Baku, Ganja, and Karabakh carpets.
bu indigodan çox istifadə etmişlər. İndi biz hazır boyadığımız, üzərlikdən aldığımız sarı rəng,
Now we are going to boil the yarns we have already dyed in the yellow color we acquired from harmal, mulberry trees, and buckthorn in the indigo solution. And we're going to try to achieve different shades of green.
bunları qaynadacağıq və bunlardan da yaşıl rəngin müxtəlif tonlarını almağa çalışacağıq. Tut ağacından
Let's take a look at the green color acquired from mulberry trees.
Azərbaycanın bütün xalçalarında
This green color is used in all of the carpets of Azerbaijan. It's a very beautiful green. As it dries, it gets more beautiful.
muzdarçıdan
We're looking at the greener version of yellow form from buckthorn.
alınan yaşıl rəng. Üçüncü kələf ipimiz üzərlikdən
The third skein yarn is the yellow achieved from harmal. We are witnessing the green obtained in this yarn.
bugün bizim Şirvanda apardığımız boyaq prosesi sona yetirir.
The dyeing process we carried out today in Shirvan is coming to an end. The yarns are now available. First, the black color was achieved from the pines and bark of oak trees. We acquired 3 shades of green. One of this is known as duck-haired green among carpet weavers. One is bluish green, and the other is called dark green. All of these are individually used colors in all the carpet groups. Later on, we acquired the color red from madder roots.
Ondan sonra biz boyagotu kökünden aldığımız kırmızı renk. Hansı ki bu sumağın kırmızı renk çok güzel bir renk aldı. Ümumiyyətlə
It's a very beautiful sumac shade of red. The red color acquired from madder root is like this in all parts of Azerbaijan, and this shade of red is used in all carpets. This color is blue. We acquired the color from indigo. The color blue also has different shades. For example, let's say there are 10 different kinds of blue. This is mother blue. It has subtones. There is a possibility in the dyeing process to achieve the shade you want. Finally, navy blue. Navy also has different shades. It has 1 to 10 shades. Our goal is for Azerbaijani carpets is to return to the art of natural dyeing as it used to be in the ancient times. Natural colors will never die in Azerbaijani carpet art. Chemical colors shouldn't take the place of natural colors.
özünə qayıtsın. Azərbaycan xalça sənətində təbii rənglər heç vaxt ölməsin. Kimyəvi rənglər təbii.
Whether it be dyers or weavers, in the past, our great-grandmothers and grandfathers have used these colors. This is the law of our carpets. This is because these colors have been obtained from the forest.
Ona görə ki, bu rənglər bu meşələrdən alınır.
Azərbaycanda gələcəkdə
If dye plant plantations are created in Azerbaijan in the future, and if new dyeing workshops are constructed and productive, the glory of Azerbaijani carpets can return and they can be sold at higher prices in both the domestic and foreign markets.
həm də xarici bazarda bunların yüksək qiymətə satılmasını təmin edə bilərik.
During research, the Azar Ilme expedition groups collected information on the work of one dyer from the region of Yerevan, 13 dyers from Absheron, 29 from Guba, 7 from Gencebasar, 3 from Gazakh-Borchali district, and 26 dyers from Karabakh who lived, created and worked shoulder to shoulder on carpets in these regions from the second half of the 19th century until the end of the 20th century. The greatest painter is nature itself. It's not a miracle that there are 7 colors. The miracle is how the 7 colors can withstand eternity.